Hello again and welcome back to the Parsonage. It's Pastor Don from First UMC of Brazoria with another of my stay-at-home daily devotionals. This is a Saturday edition. Friends, did you hear the one about the grasshopper that walked into a bar? The bartender asked him, "Did you know we have a drink named after you?" The grasshopper replied, "You have a drink named Steve?" Okay, I'll pause for laughter. Okay, enough pausing. Friends, I first heard that joke from a dear saint from one of the churches I pastored some years ago. His name was Ken, and sadly, he left us to join the church expectant in heaven some years back, but while alive, and probably while alive in eternity, he is a jokester. I told that joke at his funeral in his honor. His terrible puns were legendary, and he would even quietly heckle me from the choir loft while I preached. I miss Ken, and I think our world could benefit from some Ken jokes these days. Everything is so unsettled, serious, and stressful. But there's a wonderful ancient tradition in the church, that's Big Seat Church, that might be helpful in the midst of the present pandemic and all of the worry and fear and unsettling emotions it's caused. This is called in Latin the risus paschalis, the Easter laugh. And in more modern times, it's known as holy humor or bright Sunday. Now, there's a wonderful website called the Joyful Newsletter, and it describes this ancient practice as follows. Quote, "For centuries in Eastern Orthodox, Catholic, and Protestant countries, the week following Easter Sunday, including Bright Sunday, the Sunday after Easter, was observed by the faithful as, quote, days of joy and laughter, unquote, with parties and picnics to celebrate Jesus' resurrection." The newsletter continues, quote, "Churchgoers and pastors played practical jokes on each other, drenched each other with water, told jokes, sang, and danced. The custom," they write, "was rooted in the musings of early church theologians like St. Augustine, Gregory of Nyssa, and John Chrysostom, that God played a practical joke on the devil by raising Jesus from the dead. Risus paschalis, the Easter laugh, the early theologians, church fathers, called it." Now, the theological basis for this ancient custom seems to me both sound and interesting. I personally find the idea that God played the ultimate practical joke on the devil on Easter very appealing. Perhaps in part that's because I was known as something of a practical joker in my younger days. But think about it. Evil played its hand with all it had. The Romans, the chief priests, the scribes, the Sanhedrin, the Jewish police court, and the mob, all of Jesus' adversaries. And incidentally, the name Satan itself literally means the adversary. They went all in to destroy Jesus. And they killed him in the most brutal and cruel means possible. They sealed his dead body in a guarded stone tomb. And then Easter happened. Somewhere or other, I heard a story of a Sunday school teacher who had just finished telling her eager third graders about how Jesus was crucified and placed in a tomb with a great stone sealing off the only way in or out. Well, wanting to share the excitement of the resurrection and the surprise of Easter morning, she asked, "And what do you think were Jesus' first words when he came bursting out of that tomb alive?" And a hand shot up into the air from the rear of the classroom. It belonged to a most excited little girl. And leaping out of her chair, she shouted uncontrollably, excitedly, "I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know." And "Good," said the teacher, "tell us all." And extending her arms high in the air, she sang out, "Ta-da!" On Easter, God said a resounding and definitive ta-da to the devil and to the world. And Holy Humor Sunday suggests God got a laugh out of the wretched foolishness of Satan. And what's more, and here's the good part, we're invited to laugh along with God. In fact, friends, I really believe our Lord Jesus loved to laugh too. There's a fascinating hint in Luke's gospel where we hear him tell the parable of the rich fool. It's the story of someone who stored up treasure on the earth to the detriment of his eternal soul. And in telling the parable, Jesus says, quote, "And I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry," unquote. You can hear the joke-like timing with his parable telling. It sounds as though Jesus enjoyed a good chuckle, and maybe we could learn this from him. Now, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. I am not at all suggesting that our Lord Jesus was a joke, nor that his passion and death, his murder, was anything less than brutal, nor am I suggesting his message was less than serious or life-changing. No, what I am saying is that perhaps we can take some calming comfort in the joy of beneficial laughter, and I certainly don't see any harm in, well, laughing at the devil. I suspect he'd laugh at us given half the chance. Furthermore, the Bible encourages laughter and cheerfulness. The psalmist wrote, quote, "Then our mouth was filled with laughter and our tongue with shouts of joy. Then it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them." Unquote. In Proverbs we read, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a downcast spirit dries up the bones." And in Ecclesiastes, and in the lyrics of a song by Pete Seeger and later by the Byrds, we're told that there is, quote, "a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance." There is a time to laugh and dance. And friends, that time is Easter, when God overcame the tyranny of death with the grace of resurrection, when God literally rolled the stone away from each of our lives and called us forth into eternity, when God overcame the worst that the evil powers of the world could throw at him, when we became, quote, "more than conquerors through him who loved us," unquote. I think an Easter laugh is in order. Perhaps a symphony, a cacophony of them, ringing out the hope of Christ's resurrection bestowed on all creation. A symphony of hope in the face of doubt, fear, and worry. A symphony our troubled world is dying to hear. Friends, tomorrow is traditionally the date of Bright Sunday. So I invite you to make a point of telling a joke, preferably a clean one, brightening not only someone else's day, but also to be part of that collective symphony of joy and hope. It is good medicine. It always was for my friend Ken. By the way, friends, did you hear the one about the duck that walked into the convenience store? Oh well, maybe some other time. Grace, peace, and good health always, and have a blessed and joyful day.